You need to know your worth before you say I do. Your worth is not tied up to anything or anyone outside of yourself.
We get so lost in trying to succeed in making a living that we fail in living our lives.
There's always gonna be another zero to the number. So when will it ever be enough?
It reached a point where we were not sure whether there would be food on the table. And so I vowed that I would be wealthy.
How can you consider yourself successful regardless of how rich you are if you can't protect your own daughter from abuse? You can't stop your wife from divorcing you because you're so absent in your relationship. How can you call that a successful life? Before we continue, our team showed us this, and I think you're gonna find it really interesting. 80% of our viewers so far have not yet subscribed. I want you to give us just really quickly a little time to share. This channel is not made for us. It's not made so that we can become famous. This channel was designed specifically to impact Filipino young men and one day impact the Philippines as a whole. And so maybe this is the only episode you've seen. Maybe you are following our episodes. But I know for sure that you want to see change happen in our nation. And so the one small thing you can do that will literally take you only 1 second to click down here is to subscribe to our channel. That's going to help us push this video and our channel to more Filipino men who actually want to grow their character. And I promise you one thing, if you click that subscribe button, we will show up every single week to come up with the best content, transformative content, and offer authentic mentorship so that we can do our small part in changing this country. And this, clicking this button down here, is your small part in helping changing this country as well. Now let's get back to the episode.
You know, there are a lot of things that men carry that they cannot really say out loud. And one of those is feeling that they are still not enough. Kahit na meron kang trabaho, kahit na nakakapagbigay ka to your family and to your friends, even when we're doing everything that we're supposed to do, minsan feeling pa rin natin na kulang pa rin siya. Because somewhere along the way, we were taught that a man's worth is in how much he can provide. So the day that we can't, it doesn't just feel like we failed. It feels like we are a failure. And today, let's talk about that. Why so many men feel like no matter what they do, hindi pa rin ito sapat.
57% of men say financial struggles have made them feel like they are failing at being a man. 65% of men say financial concerns negatively affect their mental health. And among Gen Z, nearly 1 in 2 say financial worry affects them every single day. And 77% of men believe that their primary purpose of being a man is to be a financial provider for their families. Now, we know that that is not your primary purpose, but it is part of our purpose.
And from an early age, we're taught to be the man of the house. Ikaw ang bahala. You're the one who carries it. You carry the load. You carry the burden. And then we fall apart. We're not allowed to fall apart, so we think, but we do. And we find no honor in that. But here's the thing. It is an honorable thing to carry the load. But there's a weight that comes with it that most men don't talk about. Today, we're asking, what is a man actually worth if money is the only measuring stick? And who is he outside of what he can provide?
Now, before we get there, and I'm really excited about this topic, but we also do have our very own blind box here at the center. Can you show them the box?
Yes, this is the beautiful box again here of our team. Medyo magaan siya, so feel ko cheque. Feel ko cheque na sponsorship. Gaan eh.
Now, what we do here is that every single episode, our team prepares a special item inside of our box. Now, we have no clue what it is. All we know is that whatever's inside is directly tied to our topic. And at the end of each episode, we're going to open this box, reveal the hidden item, and share how it connects to our topic. Now, our topic right now is about being a provider as a man. Because I feel like this is something that most men don't intentionally talk about. Because I think part of it is pride. We assume that we're all providers. We assume that we all are supposed to know this already on our own without actually asking for help from one another. But the problem is, based on the statistics, a lot of young men are struggling with this. In fact, it's eating them up inside and their mental health
Yeah.
because they feel pressured. I just want to add something really quick. Pressure is a privilege. I heard that from someone once. Because it's a privilege to be able to have someone else believe in you.
Yeah.
Right? But so many young men run from pressure. But real men don't run from pressure. We don't fold because of pressure. We rise up to the challenge because whatever it is, chances are it's worth it. And the people we provide for are worth it. But you know what? With our age right now, chances are we all have experienced some form of pressure
Yeah.
when it comes to providing for someone. When did we or you start to first feel that pressure?
Well, for me, um, I started feeling the pressure, maybe not so much financially, but because of my past, because my parents were always fighting, as we talked about in previous episodes. Um, I felt the pressure of having to protect my mom and my siblings from my father, who was quite violent. And that was not a financial pressure, but the responsibility of being protector. And later on, because we were not poor, we were not wealthy, you know, maybe we had enough. But when things got really bad, it reached a point where we were not sure whether there would be food on the table. And that's when I had a fear come upon me, the fear of running out, the fear of lack, the fear of not being able to provide. Even though I was still elementary, okay? I was still in grade school, but because there were days when there was no food, and it got worse when I got into high school. The fights got worse, and so on and so forth. And thinking ahead, eventually, I'm going to have to get a job. I'm going to have to work. And so I vowed that I would be wealthy, that I would work hard, find the best job that would make me mega bucks, and be able to provide for my family, provide for my mom, my siblings if they're not doing too well. But that was my dream. I was motivated by a fear of lack, and that that's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling because it can make you corrupt. And that's why there's a lot of corruption, because there's also so much poverty in our nation, and the desire not just to provide, but many times greed comes in. Once you've tasted some money, then you want more. And a lot of people say, when I have my first million, I'll be happy, until you get your first million. And then you realize, I want more. So maybe when I get 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, and you realize greed can never be satisfied. And if that is the motivating force behind your striving, then you reach a point where you will do anything that it takes so that you will have more. And your morals, your values will fly out the window unless you are well grounded in something that will give you some moral compass, some kind of moral compass that will help you navigate, that will teach you to say no when things are not right. But that's not always easy.
Yeah.
And nowadays, with the economy that we have, earning, let's say, 25,000 a month, especially if you live in Metro Manila, that's pretty much poverty pa rin. So people want more and more and more. You're earning 50,000, that's still not enough. 100,000, you're barely making it. And the problem is, when you earn more, the stuff that you buy will also be more expensive. See? Before, you'll buy bigas that's only, let's say 40 pesos, 35 pesos. Now you have a little more, you're going to get because that's 100 pesos. Then you find out you're still not earning enough. But it's because your tastes have also gone up. So the question we need to ask also is, when is enough enough? That's very difficult. And so there's this drive to want to just earn more. And when we're not, we tie up our sense of worth to our bank account. And so, like you were saying earlier, that what happens when we don't provide? So it's not just that I failed, but I am a failure. So now it's not just an action, it's an identity. See?
Yeah, and you tie it to the amount
Yes.
in your bank account. You know, especially I think growing up in a particular environment when if you're surrounded with like businessmen, really successful people, which is really good. But at one point, you also think to yourself, there's always gonna be another zero to the number. So when will it ever be enough? So with that, I want to ask you, Tito, no, what do you think is how do you think greed affects a certain people when it consumes them? Because oftentimes, of course, we want that provider, diba? That provider mindset, and we chase that money, we chase that we want to earn. But and oftentimes hindi natin nakikita na ay greedy na pala ako. Like I didn't realize na I was willing to shove away everything just to earn this particular amount. So what do you think greed does to a person?
I want to just add, how do we protect ourselves from greed? A simple way to protect ourselves. No? And this is a question that we need to ask ourselves and be able to answer honestly. Our problem kasi is we lie even to ourselves.
Yeah.
And for example, one question we need to ask is why? I want to earn 1 million a month. Why? Why do you want to earn that much? Because sometimes it's a want, not a need, right? And if you can't answer why, chances are, when we're talking about money anyway, right? When you can't answer why, chances are you're entering the territory of greed already. Greed is not the only outcome of wealth. Greed is the outcome of poor upbringing. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that wealth by itself is not bad. Greed is the culprit. But for those who are honestly working hard, for those who want to provide for their family and give them a better future, by all means, push, do your part, take care of your family. Because, as men, that's what we're called to do. We are called to provide for our wife, for our children, for our extended community, extended family, if you have the means. And that's one of the things we honor. But do honest work. Work hard, do it well, don't cheat, don't be greedy, and God will be exalted by the work that you do.
Yeah, because I feel like it's true there are people who are greedy, even those who might not know they're greedy. But I think the average man out there are not doing it because just of their greed. But probably they're doing it telling themselves that, this is for the sake of my children. This is for the sake of my wife, because I want to provide them a better life than what I grew up.
Yeah.
So there are good motives behind it.
Yeah.
And part of it, I can, understand also that we feel like the measuring stick of our worth as a man is how much we have in the bank account. Because that's all we were really trained to do.
Yeah.
Do well in school, go home, go to bed. And the natural progression from there is do well at work, go home, go to bed. And your grades are now how much you're earning. That becomes our report card.
Yes.
The statement of accounts.
Yeah, that's true.
But I understand why that is causing so much pressure among different men of our different ages, including ours. But what about you, Chester? When did you, with your 7 children,
Again, 5 lang. Joke lang. I'm single, guys. I'm single.
so when did you start to feel that pressure? Because in your case, you have a unique position,
Yeah.
which is you're the eldest in your family,
Yeah.
right? And because of the way you grew up, in some way, your siblings were looking up to you
Yeah.
for certain things.
Yeah, that's true. Ako, I think for me, I really felt the pressure to provide uh, when I turned 30, just this year. When I turned 30 and a bit more before that, when we started to talk about, wanting a family, becoming a good husband. Because honestly, before I got to know the Lord, I had that mindset na my worth is tied to what I have in the bank. So iniisip ko na lang palagi na, okay, pag nagkaroon ako ng, like, for example, 5 million, okay na ako. That's when I can put my chest out and say, look, I'm here, di ba? I'm the man, di ba? But I realized nga na, and when I gave my life to Christ and I started to get to know godly men like you guys, that's where the role of the man pala is to be the provider.
Yeah.
Di ba? Because secular culture right now, they don't really highlight that particular role eh. Di ba? I hear minsan yung mga sa dating scene naririnig ko na parang minsan kailangan 50-50, okay lang. And even minsan yung the women would pay for their dates. Di ba? So, I think I felt the pressure to provide when I started to want to have my own family in the future. No? So, inisip ko nga like what you said na earlier na ayoko kasi na ma-experience nila yung na-experience ko growing up. But my dad provided for us. My dad provided for us growing up. I was so blessed to graduate from a good school, from a good college. But yun nga eh, what's very interesting no, na-realize ko is growing up, hindi sa atin sinasabi na, oh, this is the reality of life. I mean, as parents, I don't know if you say that to your kids. Diba? Ang sa atin lang as kids is, okay, we need to study, like you mentioned, we need to study, we need to get good grades, and if this fails, wala na. Tumba na. Diba? And your worth is not, you're worthless already, or you're worthless. Diba? Bars. Diba? Bars. You're worthless or you're worthless. Bars. So, anyways, and then we carry that. Diba? When we carry that when we grow up. But the reality is, our bank accounts and life will not always be an upward scale. So I carried that when I was already earning. So ako, since something about me rin is since I tied my worth to what I can provide, I always wanted to portray to my siblings na si kuya hindi nahihirapan yan. So you know what I would do? Libre palagi. Especially, I love my brother. Si Martin, I love him. Pero grabe, si Martin, talagang libre talaga. Kasi I don't want him to see na nahihirapan ako.
Well, he sees now.
Yeah, but no, but I told him this. Sabi ko sa kanya na, look, Tin, life is very, I love you so much and life is very fragile. So I want you to be able to stand on your own when I have my own family. And I even said that to my dad. And when I told that to my dad na magkakaroon ako ng pamilya, because at one point I felt the pressure na I have to send my siblings to school. And I realized when I started to mature na I was the only one putting that pressure to me. So I said it. I said it to my family. I set my boundaries, right? And then that's when my dad accepted it, and then he started to grow as well. So again, like what you said earlier, pressure is a good thing, and we men, we need that pressure.
Yeah.
Because like you said earlier, it means that someone is counting on us, believing in us that we can provide.
Yeah, that's right. And what about you, Jeremiah?
Well, for me, to be honest, because I was never a great person to date in the past.
But he is now. Shout out Bianca again.
Shout out
Dapat
Bianca.
meron tayong dito, Bianca count.
But when I was dating like in college, syempre my allowance was just enough for me really. So I got used to the splitting.
Yeah.
And then after that, it wasn't an unofficial relationship, so I wasn't the one providing. But when I started to date Bianca and I realized what she was worth, I wanted to rise up to that. Because I really believe that just because someone deserves someone better, better doesn't have to mean someone else. You can become better. And so part of that, in at least in this particular context, is financial provision. Because, I know people, and I'm not judging them, like what you were sharing kanina, 50-50, they split everything from the food to tickets. And although I understand those situations, that's not something I wanted to do in my relationship. Because when I look back at a time, like, let's say, of Jesus, women weren't even working. And so the man was the primary breadwinner, taking care of the children, taking care of the wife. And I feel like, I remember I read somewhere that the number one cause of divorce is money,
Yeah.
issues about money. Because when the man refuses to rise up to provide, it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on the wife to take care of the family, financially at least. And so that's something I didn't want to happen for my relationship. And so, of course, it's not like I can afford to take her out in all the best restaurants every single time. But if it means that we're gonna eat in a more affordable restaurant right now, at least I can cover the bill. At least I can provide. And that pressure for me was really healthy, because without that pressure, I wouldn't have felt the need to really learn more about finances. Because the truth is, personal finance is something that most people don't teach you. It's not even taught in business school. They teach you about the finances of business, but not how to take care of your own personal finances. And that's why I had to reach out for help also from other people. Because, like what we shared last time, real men aren't so prideful that we can't ask for help. So that's what I did. I started to feel pressure because of my relationship with Bianca, but in a healthy way, that it pushed me forward.
Yeah.
Instead of making me run away.
How do you feel? You guys are in the younger generation. The way I grew up was we foot the bill, right? We go on a date, or we take if you're married, your wife; if you're single, your girlfriend. You foot the bill.
100%.
100%. You don't go Dutch. You go Dutch when it's like you're out
You have
with
to
the Dutch.
explain that. What is Dutch to our
Dutch is okay. KKB. Kanya-kanyang bayan.
I'll use that.
Okay.
We're not gonna go
Yeah.
Dutch.
Yeah, Dutch treat. It's called Dutch treat.
I see.
Right? Dutch is kanya-kanyang bayad.
I see.
Now, when you're out with the guys, yeah, kanya-kanyang bayad. Yeah, we go Dutch. But when you take a woman out, you pay for it. Unless it's a business thing, and there are other exceptions, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, if it's a date, the guy foots the bill. That's my generation. I grew up. That's what my mom taught me. That's how my dad was. When we go out, he foots the bill. Even if we go out, we're a big group, because it's including the titos, the titas, the siblings of my mom. My dad takes care of everything.
Wow.
And I saw that. He worked hard. He was doing well, and he could afford to foot the bill.
Yeah.
Right? So because I saw that, I just figured that's the way it should be. And so before, when I would date, like in college and stuff like that, I always took care of the bill. Nowadays, it's a little bit harder because everything's more expensive.
Yeah.
Income has not gone up as much as inflation, and your generation and maybe the younger generation, many times they split the bill, because at least they can date, because it's not so expensive.
Yeah.
Right? I take care of mine, you take care of yours, at least we can go out. But if we have to wait for me to be able to foot the bill, we'll go out only half as much.
Yeah.
Right? So understandably, but how do you feel about that? What's in the mind of people?
Yeah. For me, and I'm as you were asking that question, I want to tie it. I want to say my answer, and I want to tie it to your story, because guys.
Spokesperson.
I'm the unwritten spokesperson of Jeremiah. No, because I believe providing and paying for the bill 100%. I believe in that, because again, we are called to be the provider, and it pushes us. That's good, right? But what really inspired me is, again, like we said, life is not always an upward trajectory. Is what really inspired me is when you told me the story about when you were honest with Bianca. Like, okay, like this is what I can afford right now. And she was willing to adjust. Hindi kanya inabandon. Sinabi niya na, okay, well, if that's what we have right now, then let's work with that. And I think a lot of pressure with men right now to provide comes from that eh. Na, ay, shucks. Nakikita ko sa Instagram yung date nila steak. Pero ako, afford ko, ano lang, tawag dito, gyudon. Diba?
Yum burger.
Yum burger. Oy, pero shoutouts ha, Jollibee. Baka ano.
Yeah, I just want to add to that
Diba?
before you answer.
Yeah.
It was difficult for me in that season because when Bianca and I started dating, I was earning really well because of that particular job I had. I was balancing like 2 to 3 jobs. And so imagine I could afford to take her to the best restaurants. Everything was provided for by me. And then in a certain season in my life, I think it was like 2-3 years ago, I lost that job. Something happened to the company. And so I was not earning as much anymore. And that really hurt my pride. Not being able to meet the standard and expectations that I laid out for myself. Because Bianca was always the type, even in the very first date pa lang, if we eat in Mang Inasal or Jollibee, she'll be the happiest person because she's focused on me and the company.
Grabe.
But of course, as a guy, I'm like, we are not eating in Mang Inasal. Although I love those places. I love Inasal.
Yeah.
It's just that because my pride was tied to how much I can provide.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't want to do that. And so in that season when I took a dip in my finances, I was caught in between, like, do I still provide the same type of dates, but I know it's gonna affect my finances? Or do I become honest enough and say, you know what, because I still want to be able to foot the entire bill for us, we're gonna have to eat in more affordable restaurants. That was hard for me to admit. But she was so gracious that I didn't even honestly have to say that because she was the one offering it already.
Ah, okay.
It was me. I was the one who had a hard time admitting it to her.
Right. So she was the one asking you na,
Yeah, do you want to eat here instead of that
okay.
place?
Pero
You want
ikaw,
to eat here?
sabi mo?
Like, no, I can handle this. Pride.
It's fine. Pero at the back of your head, parang, nako.
No, but
Yeah.
you know, the thing kasi is like, in my case, and of course, we're talking about a generation before you guys.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I did not like in a woman was mukhang pera.
Oh.
Okay, I did not like that.
Color
And-
green.
And so usually what I would do, first date, we go to a cheap place, you know, and I'll take the ugliest looking car we have, the cheapest car that we have, right? I mean, the cars we had, like when I was living in the States, the cars we had were nice cars, but they're not all of the same caliber, right? So I'll take the cheapest one we have in the garage, and we'll go to a cheap place, and I want to see what her reaction is. And if she's going to judge me that I'm not worth being her boyfriend, if let's say I pursue it, because this is the only car I have, and this is the only kind of restaurant we go to, like Jack in the Box or like a Jollibee or something like that for a first date, then if she judges me for that, I don't want to have anything to do with her. See? Now, if she passes, then I can take the nicer car and go out to the nicer restaurant and stuff like that. Because otherwise, I'll put a lot of pressure on myself because she's after the money. She's after the status. She's after being seen in the nice restaurants, you know, and things like that. And I appreciate it when they're just as happy in a Jollibee,
Yeah.
you know, in a fast food place, and if you eat in a nice Michelin star restaurant. You know, I enjoy that because then I'm not pressured.
Yeah.
There's enough pressure in this world. I don't need to add that.
That's
You
true.
know?
Yeah, and I think one of the underrated things na yung kasabihan nga ng mga Pilipino na magpakatotoo ka. 'Di ba? That's very underrated, but it's so powerful
It
because
is.
now you don't have to put your best foot forward and then you have to put a better foot forward moving forward another
Exactly.
bar. So again, with that, do you guys think it's are men really supposed to open up to their loved ones with the reality that they are in, like what they are really experiencing, especially financially?
Well, if you are married, yes, you should, because you're supposed to be one flesh. And again, I'm talking about being married. I'm not about boyfriend, girlfriend. Okay? The dynamic there is going to be a little different. Because if you're struggling, she can always leave you as a girlfriend, right? She can always leave you and say, I need to get someone richer. I'm tired of eating this kind of food, bringing me to this kind of places and stuff like that. And I can understand that. And that adds to the pressure of the relationship, right? Um, but when you're married, remember, God created the woman to help the man. How can she help if she has no idea what you're going through? Even if, the first and most powerful way to help is to pray. How can she pray for you well if she thinks everything is going well, but you feel like your whole world is getting flushed down the toilet because you don't know if you can put food on the table tomorrow, right? Maybe she doesn't understand your business, your job, or whatever, but she can pray for you. She can pray for ideas. One good idea from God can change your situation around almost overnight. Okay? All you need is an idea that will work. And that's where women are good. They're good at helping us.
Yeah.
God knows, or God knew, that we can't do it on our own. It's not good for a man to be alone. I will create a helper suitable for him. The word helper does not mean she's second class. In Tagalog, I think, I don't speak Tagalog, but, katulong. And it makes it sound like she's brought to being a domestic helper or, no. That word is someone, your success, your future and your success is tied to your wife. If you don't treat your wife well, you are jeopardizing your future. Because the Bible says you don't treat your wife well, God will not even listen to your prayers. See? So telling your wife what the real score is, but also protecting her by how you say it is important. Because you don't want your wife to break down and lose hope. So, yes, you can say, we're struggling right now financially. This is our situation. But, see, and that's where hope comes in. Hope is very important. And say, but we can pray. I'm confident that God is going to move, and you by my side, we're going to get through this.
And offer solutions.
And offer solutions.
I think that's one of the biggest problems of men right now. Maybe they might not admit there's a problem. Maybe they will admit there's a problem. But how many men have that internal strength to say, you know what? This is where we are, but I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to, like what you said, I'm going to pray to God, but I'm not going to give up.
Yeah.
I'm going to look for solutions to get us out of there.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know what the next step is yet. But you're saying, we're going to do something. I'm going to do something about this. Stand by my side. Let's pray together. It gives hope. She knows what's happening, but she's not hopeless.
Mm.
And I think being transparent with that also avoids the chances of everything being revealed at the end, di ba?
And then it's too late.
And then it's too late.
Yeah.
Tapos sasabihin ng asawa na parang, ba't hindi mo sinabi sa akin na meron ng ganyan?
Yeah, she could have helped.
She could have helped. I could have, we could have done this together. But I think yun nga yung parang, as men in the household, when we say, okay, this is what's happening, but you know what, we're gonna get through this. And I think as sons, as children, seeing a man or seeing your father being that strong figure in your family, it gives you that, okay, this is what's happening, but I know my God. My dad has it, which is a reflection of God
Right.
also.
Right.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. When you guys were going to school yet, and as a pastor, we don't earn much, right? I mean, we're not poor, but we're also not floating in money. And I saw the wisdom. God is easily could have blessed us with much that we didn't have to have the Honda that we had, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
they
remember
would
that.
tell us,
I remember that
don't
story.
don't drive up the driveway because the car was making all kinds of noises and sounds
Yeah.
that were embarrassing,
Yeah.
But this is the car that we have right now.
Mhm.
At least it runs, right? And I'm okay. I was okay with that because my worth was not tied to the condition of the car. But did I want to have a better car? Of course, I wanted to have a better car. But now see, looking back, I see the wisdom of God because it kept me on my knees. It kept my wife, mom and I, on our knees praying and say, Lord, tuition fee na naman. And it was a source of stress, but we were not hopeless. We prayed, and I mean, you didn't go to cheap schools, right? Especially you and Atch. They were expensive schools, but God provided.
Wow.
Many times last minute, but it always came through. And it's not because my salary went up. It's not because all of a sudden a rich uncle died, and endowed us with all this money or whatever. No, God simply provided. And looking back, that's what gave us hope. And really, if you learn to rely on God and move in faith, trust that God will provide, He will, because He's our Jehovah Jireh, our provider.
Before we continue with this episode, we'd just like to thank our sponsor for this video. We'd like to thank Lloyd Ramos of Wowa King Builders. They are a construction company and they help design and build nationwide. And they are helping us build this podcast to build men of value here in the Philippines. So if our vision and our mission speaks to you, please do contact us. We will link our email below, and we'd be we'll be so grateful to have you partner with us and sponsor this podcast. Back to the episode.
I want to answer that first question that you asked us because you said, should we open up?
Yeah.
Should we be honest? And you said, if you're married, yes. I'd argue if you're not married, yes, you do open up also. Because if you think about it, especially when you're young, a lot of us are just trying to impress people. A lot of us just want to feel accepted. A lot of us just want to be loved. And we will do anything and lie about certain things just to receive that type of love and acceptance.
Right.
And when you think about it, a lot of us, including myself in the past, you will pretend to be someone, have something, so that you can get someone that you feel like you cannot earn or deserve without that lie.
Yeah.
But that says so much about how you view your own worth.
Yeah.
Right.
That's my argument there. Because if you think about it, why are we so afraid to be rejected? I'd argue if I'm going to be honest about where I am and you reject me, praise God you rejected me. Because then I can finally move on from you and go to the right person.
Right.
But you know what? Most of us are so afraid of rejection that I will just lie and lie and lie so
Yeah.
that you accept me.
Yeah.
What type of relationship is that?
Yeah.
Because the moment the money's gone, she's gonna walk away, and then you're alone, and then you'll be filled with so much regret. So for me, what matters here is, what is your worth tied to? Is it tied to how much you have? And is it tied to a particular person? Because if it's tied to a particular person, who is it? Is it the woman you're dating? I'd say your worth is found in the love of God, and your identity is found in who God is and what He actually did for us. Right? If you're worth 200,000 pesos, then Jesus would just pay 200,000 pesos to pay for my sins and rescue me.
Yeah.
But He chose to live a life and die a terrible death, sacrifice Himself for each of us. That's our worth.
Yeah.
And I think when a young man does not understand his worth, he will look for it in so many other things.
Right.
In his bank account and the women.
And the
When-
cars and
and
the
the
clothes
cars.
and the watch.
But he doesn't realize he's doing himself a disservice.
Right.
Because if I win this girl over because of the lies I did and said, because I'm pretending to be rich, well, number one, she's not going to be a suitable helper for me.
Yeah.
She's not going to be the right partner for me. Why? Because I won her over with a lie,
Right.
not with who I am.
Right.
So I'd say be honest. If you're dating, be honest with how much you have. Be honest with where you are in life. Because the right woman is not going to value you less.
Yeah.
She's going to see what you have and she's going to love you so much that she's going to want to help you multiply what you have so that you can build a better life.
Yeah.
But you'll never find that type of woman if you keep lying.
That's true.
Yeah, well, the only way you can gravitate someone like that is to be that first. So you're right, Jeremiah. Na you single life is the best time to learn that lesson, because once you're married, it gets
Too late na.
it gets harder.
Yeah.
It gets harder. You need to know your worth before you say I do. You need to know who you are, what you're worth, and that it's not tied. Your worth is not tied up to anything or anyone outside of yourself.
And God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to find that inside you. And if Christ is not inside you, you're going to have to look outside.
Yeah.
And so now, that saying, keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
You know, they have a nice car, I have to have a nicer car. They have a nice ref, I have to have the same, at least the same ref.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. And so now, somebody once said, you are impressing people, you're working so hard to impress people that don't care about you. You know, and I learned that lesson a little late. I was trying so hard to be as successful as possible because, in a sense, there was a time I felt ashamed when I would get together with my high school buddies and everything, and one's working in a bank, one owns their own business, one's driving around in a Volvo or, you know, whatever, right? And here I am in a 1995 Honda Accord that's making all kinds of sounds that it shouldn't be making, right? And it's almost like when we get together, you know, says, oh, so how's life? How's everything? You know, says, well, you know, I just got promoted. I'm working in this place now and all of that stuff like that. And then they know I'm a pastor. So sometimes they don't even ask, because if there's a saying, if you marry a pastor, gugutumin ka, right? And that's one of the things I want to break. Not to be the richest man, but to show that God is able to care for his own.
Yeah.
You know, so you went to good schools, maybe not the best, right? There are many other schools that are better, both here and abroad, but you went to good schools. Kuya, Ach, and you went to good schools, and God provided. And for me, I learned that eventually, not right away, that my worth is not tied up in putting you in the best schools and driving the best cars and eating in the best restaurants. But there were times when we ate in the best restaurants, you know, and I was okay with that, grateful. But I think one of the things that helped me become like that is having a wife that really did not care whether we ate in the best restaurants or not. You know, mom was perfectly happy as long as we just go out and have a date, even if it's in a simple place. You know, and I hope that at least you with Bianca and you later on with whoever you can sign
Thank
up.
you. Thank you.
But find someone that will value you for who you are, not what you have.
Yeah, I think that's very powerful. I just want to tie what you said with finding someone who really knows who you are, and also with the security of your story with knowing that God will provide. But I want to speak to the men who need to hear this, because I think it's very important that the men do not misinterpret that aspect. No, like just because someone accepts you or tanggap ka na ng asawa mo or ng girlfriend mo, or parang hindi nagrereklamo yung girlfriend mo or yung asawa mo, that doesn't mean that you do not strive to be
Yes.
better. That's what I want to make clear, because us men, we need to strive for excellence.
Don't be passive.
Don't be passive.
Right.
Don't be, okay lang. Hindi wala naman nagrereklamo. Nakakakain ka pa naman eh.
Yeah.
Diba? But the thing is, you're also robbing yourself of who God can turn you into. So I think I just want to clear
That's
that.
so true.
Clear
Because
that out.
God loves hard work, right?
Yes.
He hates laziness.
Yeah.
God wants to bless. In fact, that's part of his plan for us. But you're right. It's usually the problem with men is that we're always in one side of the extreme or another.
Yes.
All I do is work and earn, or I'll be so passive, I won't work, I'll just relax.
Especially if the wife is doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay
Some
na.
become house
Okay na.
husbands.
Oh, you become
okay
house
na.
husbands.
Okay na.
you
And
know?
we're not trying to put down house husbands. But if you're to ask us, because we're not the standard here, but we are trying to follow the standard presented in the Bible.
Yeah.
Right? And can you share a little bit about what is that standard of a man when it comes to work and provision
Yeah.
that we are called to rise up to? Because I don't believe in lowering the standard so that we're comfortable. I believe we should be uncomfortable and rise up to that standard.
Well, first of all, we need to work. Okay, that's the bottom line. As far as this topic is concerned, men are called to work. If the women also work, I think it should be optional. If they want to work, by all means, go ahead. But the men should at least be able to pay the bills. They should put food on the table. They should be able to pay for the utilities, take care of the rent if they don't own their own home, the real property tax. That should be theirs. The woman can now, if she does want to work, and there are women that are also driven, which is wonderful. Nothing wrong with that. But that should be supplementary. She can now buy her stuff. She can, buy things for the kids.
Not out of necessity.
Not out of necessity. Now, I realize, and I don't want to put unnecessary pressure also on the men, because, like I said, earning a lot now is not easy. Sometimes we need double income, right? And if that's where you start, by all means, at least you're working.
Yeah.
That's the
You're
important
doing
thing.
something.
You're doing something, but strive for more,
Yeah.
right? Strive for more so that your wife's work becomes optional.
Yeah.
That if she decides, you know what, we've got kids now, I want to be a full-time mom. I want to make sure that the kids grow up
Yep.
with my love, not just with Yaya, even if you can afford Yaya. You have to do it. But here's the other thing. At the risk of, because of striving for more, then all we do is work. That's the other extreme that you were talking about. Everything's work, work, right? And you have to be also a husband, not just provider. You have to be a husband. That means you gotta take your wife out, date at least once a week. Take her out. It doesn't have to be expensive. Especially if you've got bills and there's just a little left. If it cannot be once a week, maybe every other week. And if it's only in a fast food or just going out watching a movie together, even watching a movie is so expensive. No?
Yeah.
But at least you're doing something together.
Right.
It's very important. Spending time with the kids. The man has to be felt in the home, not just in the office. Because here's the thing. If you get sick, who's going to take care of you? It's going to be your wife, not your boss, not your secretary. Better not be the secretary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But not your boss, not the people in the office. It's going to be your wife. So you got to take care of your wife. You have to be a husband. You have to be a dad if you've got kids. That's the balance. See? You're there.
Yeah.
You are present. Even to ask, oh anak, how are you? How's school? How are you doing? How are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? If they have a boyfriend or girlfriend, how's your relationship coming along? Oh, you fought. What about? I'm here if you need me. Right? Things like that. Be involved in their lives. Find out how they are. It's not just about work. But yes, work. Like what you were saying, strive. Strive for more. Be able to provide well.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with everything you said. And I think that is the standard that we're called to rise up to. But I also want to touch a little bit on, we were talking kasi on why men feel like failures as men and how it is solely tied to one thing.
Yeah.
How much they can provide. But let's say you are the best provider because you went all in at work at all costs.
Yeah.
Basta I can provide. That became their sole focus. And we saw a while ago, I think it was about 77% of men believe that is their primary purpose in life. But the way I see it, let's say that's your financial health and you scored 100% there. But then you also have your spiritual health. You have the health of your relationships with other people. You have your physical health and you have your mental health. And each of them have equal weight in the score of life. But you neglected the four to pursue just one.
Yeah.
And so even if you scored 100% on that one exam, you scored a total of 20%
In life.
in life,
100, yeah.
making
Yeah.
you still a failure in life.
Yeah.
And so provision cannot be the sole purpose of man,
Yes.
and cannot be the sole place where you derive your purpose from, because then you fail everywhere else.
Yeah.
We get so lost in trying to succeed in making a living that we fail in living our lives.
Yes.
We get so focused in making a living that we can't even live our lives with the very people we're trying to provide for.
Yeah.
And then they pay the price.
You know, I think, and you touched something very important. In those areas where we need to excel, I would think that your spiritual health is the most important,
Why?
because everything flows from there. It's not the only thing. I just think it's the most important,
Including purpose.
because your purpose is tied up to God. You can be committed to the wrong purpose. See, just like what you were saying, I thought it was just to provide.
Yeah.
Now, that's part of it, but it's just part of it. It's not everything. God has something else for you. So your spiritual health, your faith is so important, because one, your purpose is tied to that. God is your provider. So you do work. God does not bless laziness. In fact, what's interesting is that when Jesus gave the parable of the talents, the one
What are talents for those who don't read the Bible?
talents is money. Okay, it's not talent like singing. In the Bible, especially if you read the King James or New King James, they use talents because that's weight. 1 talent is about 96 pounds. So 1 talent of gold is 96 pounds of gold.
Wow.
So it's money.
Wala bang talent? Wala bang talent dito.
Laki nun,
Saan pa yung makakuha ng tao?
We have 3 talents here already.
Oh, 3 talent na sa orto.
But not the gold. But see, here's the thing. One was given 5 talents and he doubled it.
Yeah.
And God said, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Another one was given 2 talents according to their ability. He made 2 more, and Jesus said the same thing. "Well done, good and faithful servant." One was given 1 talent, and he buried it. And when the Lord came back, he gave it back. He didn't steal. Okay, he gave it back. And the Lord said, "You wicked and lazy servant."
Did he say why he chose to bury it?
He buried it because, number 1, he was afraid to lose it, to lose on the investment. Number 2, he was scared of his master because he felt that his master was a hard man. And so the master said, "You should have at least put it in the bank so it would gain interest." In other words, God expects more back than what he gave. He expects us to multiply and steward well the things that he entrusted to us. So when this servant buried his talent and gave it back, and the point I wanted to bring out is, he called him lazy, but he also called him wicked. So laziness is tied up to wickedness. Therefore, laziness is not going to be blessed by God. That's why we need to work.
Yeah.
We need to strive.
Yeah.
We need to provide. That's part of what we're called to do. Now, that striving and that working can become very stressful if you are trying to excel in something that you were not called to do. And that's where faith comes in. Because now God will begin to speak to you and say, "I created you for this." Now, whatever this is, that's where all your talents, abilities, skills, capacities, and strengths are. You were made for this.
Yeah.
You can do other things, but you won't excel as much as whatever the this is that God created you for. So for me, your spiritual health comes first. It may not be everything. It is not everything, but everything is tied to that. So your spiritual health is paramount, right? It is important, but not to the neglect of the other things. Your mental health, your emotional health, your family health, and so on and so forth. And that's where we need to, um, that's the part that we need to cultivate as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, and I think especially in Filipino culture, that's not really talked about. Eh.
Yeah.
The other aspects of the health of a man. No, and I think
What makes a man successful?
yeah, and then I just want to touch on what you said. Na okay, yes, you can provide. You can provide. Okay, all the bills are paid. But going back to what you said also, Tito, that the man has to be the strong um, person at the households. So think about this. If, for example, the house is in danger, okay, all the bills are paid, but the man of the house crumbles. Siya yung sumisigaw, siya yung, ano gagawin natin? Di ba? So, what will the kids feel? Di ba? And I think, especially with this podcast, what we want to shine light on is being intentional in growing all of those areas so your kids and the people around you, not just your family, but I believe even your friends, when you're out, for example, you're out with your friends, and then yung iba doon, bata, yung iba doon, female. When something happens, ikaw ba yung tatakbo? Or will you be the one to step in and say, okay, guys, ito gagawin natin. Diba?
Yeah, either ikaw tatakbo or ikaw tinatakbuhan.
Tinatakbuhan.
Right.
Diba? So parang, I think that's very, very important na us men, we are yes, we are called to provide, but that's not our only role. We're called to
Exactly.
provide financial, we're not just called to provide financially, we're called to provide security, emotional security, even literal physical security, because we need to be strong. We need to
Exactly.
Yes.
protect. Grabe, nakita niyo ba yung nangyari ngayon? Yung news sa
The school?
yeah, dude, grabe yun.
Yeah.
So imagine na parang lagi ko iniisip na the kids talaga, the kids, the children who are so helpless, how much they depend on the men, on their dads, or their kuyas. If your dad's not there, your kuyas. Who will they run to?
Yeah.
I just want to share before we move on. I just want to touch on the importance of growing all of those aspects, the financial, physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental. Is I saw this interview in the States. They were interviewing this pedophile, and then the interviewer asked the pedophile, how do you target your targets, your victims? And then he said, I look at the dad first. If I see that the dad is weak, then I can prey on that child. But if I see that the dad is strong and capable of protecting and present, I'm not gonna touch them.
That's right.
And that's very alarming, because what we are doing right now is we're called to provide for all and protect for the people around us.
And the fact that pedophilia is rising tells us the state of the men
Yeah.
who are unaware, unavailable, and unable to protect.
Because they're stuck in the office. Imagine,
Yeah.
that's so true what you just shared. How can you consider yourself successful regardless of how rich you are if you can't protect your own daughter from abuse?
Yeah.
You can't protect your son from choosing to commit suicide because he doesn't want to disappoint you.
Yeah.
You can't stop your wife from divorcing you because you're so absent in your relationship. How can you call that a successful life, even if you are a billionaire?
Yeah.
Life is bigger than just your finances.
And abuse is not always physical. It can be mental, it can be emotional. It can be in the workplace. Your daughter is working already in the workplace and she's being abused mentally, she's being bullied, and she doesn't know how to protect herself, right? And it's like, ganyan talagang trabaho ang workplace. Kung ayaw mo, edi hanap ka ng ibang trabaho. And it shows that they're not there to protect.
Yeah.
I remember I told Achi, my daughter, Becca, she got bullied in school by a guy, right? And I hope I'm getting my story straight because there are two incidents in my mind. I hope I don't mix them. But I told the teacher that I said, you need to do so. I wrote a letter. You need to do something about this. Because if you don't, I will. Okay? And I expect that guy to apologize. And if he doesn't, and then my daughter asked, what are you going to do? Beat up the guy? No, I'll beat up the dad. Now I'm not saying let's beat up everyone,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. My point is my daughter has to feel protected.
Yes.
See, I'm not gonna go there and beat up a grade school or high school kid.
Isang bait pala ng dad.
Hello!
See, that's-
Ay, bakit po, sir?
No, but see, it's good you said that. You know why? And to digress from that story, Jordan Peterson said that a man needs to be dangerous,
Yeah.
right? And I know a lot of people take issue with that, but I get his point. We have to be dangerous, but gentle, right? Because if you're nice, but don't know how to be dangerous, you're not nice, you're weak. And you have no choice but to be nice because you're weak. So you can afford to be nice when you're strong.
Yeah.
And so we need to be strong. And I'm not just talking about strong in terms of being able to curl 300 pounds or whatever. That's a good strong, but that's not the only strong.
But mean the capability to being capable enough to defend your loved ones and yourself.
Yes.
The character.
Whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally,
Physically, yeah.
you are there to protect.
Yeah.
See, not just physically. It's good to do that if people are in danger. But what about the emotional abuse, the mental abuse? You still need to protect your family from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, before we continue, we did mention a while ago that we have a blind box. And so we're going to reveal right now our item.
And see how much they are sponsoring us.
I like this part. you know?
It's just very...
It really forces me to think on the spot,
Yeah.
right? Oh, look, it's a check.
It is a check. Oh, sabi ko sa'yo eh. Sabi ko sa'yo. Ay, thank you ah. Thank
So
you
the
guys, ah.
item, we're going to have to explain how this relates
What is it?
to our actual topic.
Ah, sobre. Sobre. Tapos may talents. Gets. So, okay, I get it. Alright. So, and then madami pa. Madami. Okay. So, again, no, we're gonna talk na how is this related to us men being providers.
Yes.
What's to go first? I'll go first. Yeah, I'll go first. All right. What's sobre in English? What do you call
Envelope.
This? Oh, nga, no. Sorry.
Better kung sobra.
Sobra. Sana
Yeah.
yung sobre, may sobra. Diba? Bars again. Now, ako, I think an envelope, this can reflect kasi how a man sees his role as a provider. Narinig kasi why do we use it? Kaya naman natin ito ginagamit. Di ba when we hand things, for example, nakakuha ka ng sahod mo, your salary, and then you give it to your wife. Sasabihin mo na, tawag dito, here's your salary, ito yung gamitin mo, pambayad, ganyan. It will reflect your character. Are you gonna give it because you want to give it, and this is a testimony of God's faithfulness that He provides? Or are you gonna give it and your heart is, nako, bibigay ko na naman, kailan kaya darating yung next? Sapat kaya to? So it will reflect a lot about yourself. So I think that's the thing that reminds me of this. It will really make you think what position you're coming from. Is it a place of fear or is it a place of faith? And I think us as men, when we hand this towards, when we give this to our loved ones, I highly encourage that we grow ourselves so we can give it from a place of faith and love and say that this is what God provided us. See, you guys don't have to worry about it.
That's
Every
good.
month, merong ganito.
That's good.
one.
Faithfulness.
Faithfulness. Thank you, Lord.
What about you, Dad? You want to go first?
Okay. Do you have already? I can go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. If you look at this is an ordinary, plain, brown envelope. It's not even white, So this is the cheaper one. I don't know how much this is. I don't use envelopes. But probably mahal na yung 1 peso for this. Right? So this is worth not very much. Right? But I can put a check inside that can be 1,000 pesos, 100,000, 1 million
think of
pesos. And the envelope is still worth only 1 peso, but it's what's inside.
I should have went first.
You should have went. That was his answer. Yeah, but that's nice. That's nice.
It's what's inside. I'm reminded of the donkey that Jesus rode on as he entered Bethlehem or Jerusalem in the final week before his crucifixion, what we call Palm Sunday. And people were, lined up on both sides of the street, throwing down palm fronds, right? And everything, and Jesus riding on this donkey. And the donkey, let's look at the donkey, was saying, look at how all these people are adoring me. I must be so important. And what he forgets is it was not for him. It was for the one riding on him. He was the one that gave him worth. He just happened
Right.
to be at the right place, at the right time, carrying the right load.
Right.
When you put yourself under God, that's what happens. But it's not because of just who you are, but who's in you.
Right.
So we're this envelope. We're like the donkey. Not worth very much on our own. But when you have Christ inside you, all of a sudden, everything becomes possible.
Right.
Hope becomes possible. Good family becomes possible. Good education becomes possible. But we're still just this envelope. But it's what's inside. That's where you measure your worth.
Right. I love that.
Ayoko na.
I love New item, please.
For me, I think, considering this represents like finances, right? I think this also represents the quality of most men's worth. That you could easily crumple it.
Now we have to pay for that.
Wala tayong sponsor.
Charge it na lang, charge it.
You can tear it. And I think the problem is we don't always have control over the economy. We don't always have control over our work, over the company that hired us. And I know what it feels like when it's like the rug beneath your feet was just swept under you. When a company shut down or something bad happened, and all of a sudden you don't have a job. And all of a sudden you feel like you're worth nothing because the finances were affected, your job was affected. And I think those are one of the best moments in your life because number one, it reveals where you put your value in, your worth in. And I needed to go through that because you are worth so much more than just how much you're earning. You're worth so much more than just how much you're providing. But when your whole life is tied to this one thing and the economy falls apart or war starts to break out. I mean, if war were to break out here, most of the jobs are going to be affected. The entire market is going to be affected. What does that mean? All of a sudden, we're all worthless as people? Of course not. Because your worth is not tied to just your finances. And I think that's something that a lot of us men need to learn. And so, we discussed so many things here a while ago about value, about our worth, about how we tie it to our finances. What's the bottom line of this actual episode for each of us? Why don't we start with you?
Well, I think I want to speak to those of you that are putting all your eggs in one basket as far as worth is concerned. You are worthy not because of what you do, but because of who you are. You are a person, you're a man, and I'm also speaking to the women for those who watch our podcast. Thank you, ladies, for supporting us as well. Your worth is tied to the fact that you were created in the image and likeness of God.
Amen.
Yeah.
And that means your worth cannot be stripped from you. It is inherent in the just by the fact that you are a human being. You are worth the life of God that He poured out on the cross. That's your worth.
That's right.
Now, anything you do after that will only add to that worth, add value to who you are. That's it. But if you are stripped, like what Jeremiah was just saying, if you are stripped of everything, you're still worth a lot. You get a 1,000 peso bill, whether it's crisp or you step on it, fold it, crumple it, wet it, whatever it is, it's still worth 1,000 pesos.
Yeah.
And that's something that cannot be taken from that piece of paper. And if that paper can retain its value, how much more you?
Yeah.
You are worth it.
Yeah.
What about you, brother?
For me, the bottom line, I want to speak to the men who feel like it's too late. You know, if you feel like nahihirapan ka mag-provide or nahihirapan ka na feeling mo na wala ka ng kwenta dahil wala kang maibigay, I want to say that it's not true. That is a lie because you can always improve yourself and you can always put your faith in God and He will show you your worth. Again, just like what Tito Joseph said, your worth is not tied to money. It's tied to who you are. And I just want to speak also and say that you can find communities like this podcast and realize that there are other men who can support you in this journey. It's not a shame to say na nahihirapan ka in that particular aspect because we're here. We're here for you. No? And I guess that's my message. No? Just continue to strive. The pressure that you feel, you can use that into something that can push you forward. So I think that's my point.
That's good.
Well, to me, I want to speak to the young men who are either dating a girlfriend or preparing to be able to have a girlfriend one day. And you're afraid that unless you earn more and you can afford all of these fancy dates, you're afraid that you'll never have a girlfriend. Or you're afraid that if you admit how much you actually have and how much you actually earn, your girlfriend might leave. You know what? Who cares if they leave? Who cares if they look down on you? Praise God if they do, because at least they're honest enough to walk away. And then you're free to be able to look for the right woman. Why settle for someone who's only after what you have and not who you are? Because the truth is, if you're single, that is the best moment to be able to grow your value. And the more you add to your skill sets, the more you add to your character, the more valuable you become, and you'll be able to access higher valuable women as well. Because that's what we deserve. We first need to grow into that type of man that our dream girl actually want. But at the same time, don't just settle for anybody. Don't use the wrong things to impress the wrong girl. Find the right woman who will appreciate you for their character. But make sure you're looking for the right woman as well because of her character and not because of her looks or what she can offer you. So that's what I want to leave with you guys. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. This is No Man Left Behind, and that means we know what it feels like to be left behind in certain things, even when it comes to learning things about finances. And maybe nobody ever took the time to be able to teach you guys these things. And so this channel was designed for us to be able to help grow with you. We're not here to lecture you because we're perfect. We're not here to lecture you because we are the standard. We're here to walk side by side with you, shoulder next to shoulder, because we want to grow with you. And so this means, based on this episode alone, that your worth is so much more than you realize. And we're here to help you unpack those things in this episode and in the next episodes.
So if you like this episode, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you learned something or if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. Maybe we can even tackle it in our next episodes. And don't forget, share this to a man that you believe in.
That's right. And we're looking forward to seeing you again in our next episode. Don't forget, we're here to grow together. Bye for now.